Have you been trying to build your own personal brand, or maybe you're trying to build your company's brand? We've all had to take stake in using social more in 2020. That's been the case since we started. It's been talked about for years. This isn't the first time people have talked about using video and making sure your social media is on point. Yet so many people fight it and don't want to do it. But we've got a guy here today who's going to help you walk through the steps and figure out how you can set up your social media and your brand and your small business. Maybe it's your side hustle. We have an expert here today. Basically, he's the social media whisperer to help you with your social media branding in 2020. Find out all this and more coming up next. And this is To The Point. It's a great day, great episode. Gonna learn some new things because that's what we're here for, right? I mean, the life of an entrepreneur and a business owner and just a general person, right? You always are hearing about using social media. Some people use social for social good and some people use it for social bad. All you have to do is turn on Twitter and you see a lot of social bad. You can basically go anywhere. And we've had this conversation with so many guests talking about people using social for good and for bad. But a lot of brands are depending on social media to build their brand. We get a guest today who's going to dive in and help us with this issue of getting our brands set to go so anybody can do it. It's not just having $1 million budget and having people out there doing it. So let's talk about this. When we talk about building a brand, and these are key ingredients to building a brand, the best advice anybody ever gave me is just jump in. Even a guest we had a couple months ago, Brian Fanzo, says just push the damn button. You're going to hear that over and over again. To be successful at entrepreneurship or anything you do in life, you just have to take the calculated risk and jump. Just make sure you have a parachute and make sure you know where you're going to land. But you have to have a calculated plan, but you have to take the risk. You could sit on the sidelines, but you'll never get in the game by just sitting on the sidelines and watching. Yes, there's a time and a place for everything, and I sound like I'm just giving you every cool quote I could come up with, but yet I have none written. My point here is, folks, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, we're going to continue to put entrepreneurs in front of you that have overcome every objection and every struggle to give these tips and tricks away for free on our show every day. Now, not every day is about news around here, but social media has become one of the biggest things that we've talked about in 2020. Besides the COVID pandemic, our race relation issues here in the States, and TikTok, and all these other apps that have come out, we are surrounded by social media. 90% of Americans get their news from their device. It comes from Twitter. It comes from breaking news. That's where people are getting it. Very few people are sitting down and physically reading a paper or dive bombing into watching a full newscast. Because we all know what a local newscast, insert American city, lead off with blood and death, go with a dog story, finish with local sports, maybe know what your weather is going to look like, and then finish with a feel-good story. And then they'll highlight the story for the next episode of their show, which will be about death first, and then go that same parameter. Insert, this is how it works. We all know this is how local news looks. So now you want to get your national news, but as we all know, swallowing the national media pill means you're going to get a biased opinion from either side. And folks, to the point, we're not about a biased opinion. We're about calling out both the left and the right. So Bill Clinton and Bush and Obama, just like saying his name that way, Trump and Vice President and Democratic National nominee for President Joe Biden. None of you are off the hook. We've said it all along. You guys have ruined politics for so many people in America. It's left a bad taste in our mouth. And national media is directly to do it because they pollute our social media with their quick hits that aren't always the whole story. In fact, tragic things have happened. Businesses have been destroyed because idiots decide to go look before they leap. We saw it in the last 2 weeks. We watched the President of the United States make up in his head that Goodyear Tires, an American company for as long as we all can remember, said that they didn't want to have their people walking around endorsing politics, which isn't a problem because a lot of brands believe that. But he decided that meant that directly that they couldn't wear stupid-looking MAGA hats, and self-centered prick who loves himself said he couldn't do it. Now, Joe Biden didn't have a comment because, well, crap, we can't get comments out of him. So they're both guilty. So, America, here's your choices for the next 4 years. A clueless idiot who loves himself, or a guy who doesn't know when the hell he's going to wake up. They call him Sleepy Joe Biden for a reason. America, we have much to be concerned about. Now, Trump supporters, if you're sending me an email, it's hello@tothepointtv.com. Make sure you put it in all caps because I know you do that. Make sure you try to use more than 100 words in your vocabulary when you send your insults to me. Now, Biden supporters, I know you have a little bit more class. Same thing. The email is hello@tothepointtv.com. Make sure when you call me a fascist that you look up the definition. And no, I'm not a Nazi. I serve my country. And no, I love America. Don't tell me to go home. All the other insults you both all throw at me, not knowing what political party I'm going to vote for. Ooh. Hey, Mattis had a good ring to it, let me tell you. I have my horses that I like, and it's neither of the two that are currently running, which really sucks. We need a third party in America. It's screaming it. I think a lot of generations want it because right now we have two creepy old men who don't give a shit about the rest of us. Anyways, I digress. Let's get to the New Day show because you're going to just have me go. We'll end up not talking about our guest today. We'll have me just ranting. We don't want that. That's not what we're always trying to do. So let's get to the point with today's guest and learn everything about social media. Welcome to the show, Henry. How you doing today?
Eric, pleasure to be here.
Well, pleasure to have me. Pleasure to be here. We all take it all. I feel like we're on a radio show back in the 80s, and it works for me. I love it. We get fired up. It's good to have you here. Social media is so new. No one uses it. I don't know anything about it. I mean, I really wish the President of the United States would use it more so we could learn. No, never mind. This is a whole... We just went into the 80s there, didn't we? We're back. It's 2020, and social media is all the rage. For guys like you that work in this field, it's probably a mix of good and bad. I could imagine we're all home. COVID-19 kind of has everybody needing to be in the same boat, or as I like to say, shooting on the same hoop. And social media is the way to reach your audience. We've seen everybody use it. Even Twitch is in the game now. We've seen Twitch all over the news because the military is recruiting using Twitch in their e-gaming team. So
interesting. Very interesting.
Right? Like everybody's in on it. So having you on today is good for our guests. We're going to jump into the good, the bad, and the ugly of social. Maybe we'll talk about this thing called TikTok that seems to obsess the world with why it should be removed. I don't always agree with it, but we'll get into it. So let's just jump right in.
Yeah.
2020, your brand, personal, small business, any size business needs to be on social, period, hard stop. What are your thoughts on where do businesses start? If you're new and you're like, I have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
That's like, where do people go from there?
I think the simplest way to get started is really understanding who your audience is, right? Yeah. So if you're a plumber, what type of customers do you serve? Are you in a higher end market, or are you in a small market, a medium market, right? So the first thing that I would do is get out there on social media and do two things. One is answer objections that you typically get by potential customers, and answer any questions that you get, whether it be an existing client or a new client or customer. Like, do that, and your social media will turn into a huge FAQ platform, frequently asked question platform. And then you'll start to build up quite a bit. You'll start to become that authority. You'll start to become that credible source. And when somebody thinks plumber, when somebody thinks social media expert, when somebody thinks branding, boom, you pop into your head. And that's where I've been able to really position myself online, because I would say about 5-6 years ago, my business hit a brick wall because I was a freelance graphic designer when I started. And I did that for about 5 years. And then Fiverr came out, and all these different businesses came out that really disrupted the industry. And so at first I couldn't beat them, so I joined them, and I was a Fiverr designer. I was designing stuff for $5 a pop, and I saw that it wasn't sustainable. I was getting paid like $90 a month. But the straw that broke the camel's back was I had this woman hire me for $5 to design a business card front and back, and she made me spend 6 hours on the job. So do the math on on that. And so I said to myself, there's got to be a way. I will find a way to increase the value that I'm delivering to my customers, and I'm going all in. And so I jumped online and I started digging around digital marketing and brandings and sales and marketing funnels, and I fell in love with it. I got bit by the bug, and we're going on 10 years that I've been in this space, and 14 years total, but digital marketing wise, and branding wise, I've really gotten my feet wet and worked with some great clients like Russell Brunson and John Bon Jovi. Some of you guys may know him, Fabio Viviani from Top Chef, and some ball players, professional ball players, and it's just been a phenomenal journey. But if you're not on social media in 2020 and you own a business, I'm praying for you.
I love that you say that, because it's something that I say every day, and not even working in that field, right? As an agent and dealing with the creative and athletic side of the house, it's not a problem getting those folks on social. It's actually making them behave on social media is more of the concern than anything else. But seeing other people get on there, and I know, so let's talk about it. You brought up a great name, Russell Brunson, who I am a huge fan of. But a lot of people, and you see it online, and we get asked all the time when we have experts like you on. And I love the fact that you are the brand doctor. I think that is so fitting for what you do. It works, and we'll jump into that in a bit. But you brought up Russell. Now, the downside to social media is you can go onto your Facebook or name a platform and see a lot of people who are basically mimicking what Russell built, and they're not Russell for sure. They're not using his system. They've kind of created their own knockoff version of his. It's kind of like everybody who goes and takes Gary Vee quotes and puts it next to their picture, and they're like, look, I created this quote. But so
exactly.
How do you, this is the number one question we get, how do you pick the real from the fake, right? You see them all out there. I know I see it with media with, you could be on TV tomorrow. And I'm like, you can? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. So what tips do you, for the average Joe, to look for to pick the frauds or the reals from the fakers?
Yeah. So let me give you a real time experience that I struggled with, when I was coming up. So I get into these little coaching programs back in the day, and I would meet very unique people inside these group coaching programs. And there was this guy who took this vape company from $0 to $1 billion in 10 months. So this guy had a real knack of launching businesses and companies, and he was featured in Rolling Stone, and he just happened to take liking to me. He saw what I was posting in the group. He saw how interactive I was, and really saw my passion behind it. And he kept reaching out to me privately. And so I kept calling him my mystery mentor, because I didn't know what the guy looked like for like 3 months until we actually got on a Skype call and chatted and really got to know each other. But he said to me, Henry, I've been looking at your website. Now this is 3-4 years ago. I'm looking at your website, and you have beautiful work, and I see what you're doing, but like, where's your proof? Where's your proof? I don't see any case studies. I don't see any results that, I just see pretty design work, right? And it's very fluffy. And, thank God for him, to be honest with you, Eric, because if he didn't step up and tell me that, I still would have been probably doing the same old. Yeah. And when he told me that, Eric, I went on a mission. And so now if you go to my website, it is littered with testimony, case study. I actually created a case study library. So if you click case study and you go to the case study page, there's over a dozen case studies. And then when you click on the individual case study, it has the entire story of how that person came to me and what we did for them and what they're doing now. with the brand that we created for them. So I put that on there very purposely, very strategically, and I've also added something recently. So what I've been doing, because my services are premium, they're not cheap, and I am happy to disclose that right off the bat, because I don't want tire kickers. I don't want people that can't afford it. And what I saw happening, Eric, was funny. I would get a text message from a client. Hey, just to let you know, I told that person to work with you. And I'm like, Tom, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, they didn't tell you? And I said, no, what are you talking about? He said, oh, well, the person that you talked to today called me and started asking me about you. So I put in a good word. And I was like, and I saw this happening over and over and over again. So what do, Eric? I go on my site and I have a page that says client references. Now, I got permission from a handful of clients. And right there on the headline, if you are on the fence about working with me, feel free to call these people. And I have the logo of the person. You click on the logo. It pops open their name, phone number, and email. Have at it.
Boom.
So that's a really good way on how to differentiate the fakes from the real. Is you're going to find the social proof. You're going to find the testimony. And with the fakes, you're not.
Yep. And I love that you say that, because that's what we did, working in media and TV. We created a YouTube page and put hits on there, right? Because nothing says that you're actually on national TV like showing your clients on national TV. Like, hello. It's like you go onto our. So I think it's great that you do it, because somebody else gave me that same advice, and now I give it to everybody. I'm like, you have to have social proof. Like, don't just say it. Keep current stuff going. One of my biggest pet peeves that I run into is seeing people like, look at this article that I wrote, and you go click on it. And you're like, you wrote it in 2014.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Like, not even current. Like, quit
Not
portraying
even current.
yourself like you're writing still. You're not. So
I grew up in a very culturally diverse neighborhood, very urban, and it was funny. Everyone used to call me the cool ass white bread. Sorry if I couldn't curse, but they used to call me the cool ass white bread. And it was funny when we would be playing basketball or playing, touch football, or I should say tackle football, like not organized, but like outside of school, right? And people started to talk crap. We would always say, show and prove. Stop talking. Show and prove. And I've kind of lived by that mantra ever since. And now people see me working. I do a lot of behind the scenes work on social media. You go to my Instagram, you'll see me working with clients. If you go to the Brand Accelerator page on my site, you'll see how I'm interacting, how I'm guiding, how I'm leading the whole project. And so I just think if somebody's going to spend anywhere from $36,000 to $50,000 on an investment like what I do for my clients, they better trust the process, and they better know like what to expect. And if I'm not doing that, I'm not providing that, then shame on me.
Yep. And I love that you say that. I love that you're open about your pricing. Let's just be real about that, because I'm the same way. I don't sugarcoat it, and I don't tell anybody we're cheap. And I will quote Gary Vee and give Vee complete credit on my quote that I've loved that he said years ago, is when people tell you they could go someplace cheaper, and you can say, that's great. I have clients who pay more than you do. I love that, because it's true. And we deliver, and I've proven my point is when we were cheaper, we couldn't deliver like we can today. And that's just, and you always do that, right? When we talk about pricing, and we could go into that conversation if we want, but like pricing as an entrepreneur is something that you always will struggle with, because you'll be like, okay, I want to get into the market, so I'll have my one pricing. But as you go, you progress, and you know your worth. And it was when somebody told me my worth, they're like, dude, it's your worth, it's your time. Crank that up. The moment we did that, whole new ballgame.
I had the same experience.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
had the same experience.
But you're right about kicking tires. I don't want that, and we don't do advertising for our company. It's like we're referral only, and I have no shame in my game sharing that. And it speaks for our volume of work. And I love it because I compare it to two things. And I tell people there's two important things you should always remember. If you want to see it done right, look at Brandon Steiner. Brandon Steiner is one of the most amazing names in any game. Guy's basically built the sports memorabilia agency. But when you go to his website, brandonsteiner.com, talk about having the best testimonials you can ever have on one page. He's got Gary Vee, Michael Jordan, Derek Jeter. It's like, you're done. Do you need anything else? Like, you're like, I'm done. I'm just going to walk away. And then the other advice I always tell people is watch episodes of The Office when it comes to building a business or understanding how to do something right. The Office always kind of has little weird one-offs that it's like, it's not overnight. Like the Michael Scott Paper Company is where I always talk about pricing. They beat Dunder Mifflin because they were cheaper, but they were going out of business because they were cheaper. That's not just a funny comedic thing that they tied in. It's the truth. There's so many people who I hear compete against us, and they're thousands of dollars less, but they don't deliver. And it's like if your reputation, and you could get a whole bunch of those, but if you're always looking for a new client because you need to replace somebody who just came in because they were so cheap, you're never going to win. And I think that's what people who are trying to get into social now need to understand that, and they struggle with it as business owners. Is like, how do I do it? Because can I do it? And Fiverr, you brought up Fiverr, which I think is key. I'm not a big fan. I understand that you can get it done cheap, but it doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean.
I use Fiverr like a hardware store.
Yeah.
Okay. When I need something like some nails.
Yeah.
Right. So if I need a picture cropped out of a background, now let's get something straight. I don't do any design work anymore. I have a team of very highly skilled designers and developers. I replaced myself when I decided to scale my business and just work strategy one-on-one with clients, and then my team executes all that stuff. But they have access to my account, and because I want them working on high revenue generating activity. Okay? Mm-hmm. If they need a picture cropped out or something like that, they go hire a junior for $5. It's like going to the hardware store, getting a box of nails, and then we have it back in a couple hours, and boom, it's done. While they're still they're focusing on the big stuff, right? Yeah. And that's how I use Fiverr. I'm not going to design a brand with it. I'm just going to use it for those tedious things that you don't want to do, right? So there's places to use it, right? Getting back to the whole pricing thing, and then we can move on. If there's coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs out there that struggle with this, there is something to say about pricing your service or product right. I was outpricing myself a little bit at one point, and then I realized I found the threshold of what people are willing to pay. So I serve a very niche community. Coaches, consultants, they don't have huge deep pockets like bigger business, right? So what I found was, okay, we see the average spend here over the past 24 months. They're typically spending anywhere from $36,000 to $50,000 so that's how we're going to price our service. We're going to bundle everything. We're going to make it very comprehensive for them, so it makes it stupid for them to say no. But every once in a while, you get the guy that comes and says, or gal that comes and says, I could get it done cheaper. And you know what my response is? I bet you can. Yeah. So why are we talking?
Yep.
And I just leave it at that. And then it's usually the truth comes out, and they either move forward or they don't. But again, you said it best. Knowing your worth is half the battle. And when you get that finally ingrained into your nervous system, it's game over. It was game over for me. And so, we just keep pushing forward, and it's crazy because we thought COVID was going to put a dent in, our revenues this year, and we've had record-breaking months. Why is that? Well, we do great work, and we know who our customers are, and we know the importance of building a brand online, and we're really good at what we do. And I'm not just tooting my own horn. It's what they say. It's not, and that's brand, right? You want to talk about brand. Brand isn't the logo, the website, and all that stuff. It's what people say about you. Like, you're gonna have something to say about me after we get done with this interview. This is the first time we met. That's brand. So you want to leave them better than you found them. That's my opinion.
That's absolutely correct, because there's a lot. I mean, working in PR, I have a big background in that. You see a lot of, you start chuckling because you see a lot of people making a lot of promises about a lot of things. And, I get into, I sometimes find myself in interesting debates online with people who they just don't make sense. And sometimes you have to almost call their bluff just because you want to, I don't want to say expose, but you want to be like, dude, you're misleading in such a big way that you can't come on here and throw around your opinion when you're wrong. And I'm going to be the one that's like, because I see people like, oh, this is great, this is great, this is great. And then I'm like the harsh reality guy, like, not true, not true, not true. I can tell you because I just got done using this beautiful device to text half of the producers that you're claiming that you could get them on TV. I've actually, true story, real time, I saw an ad on Facebook 3 nights ago, claiming to know a network that I work with pretty much daily. I texted the EP. They'd never heard of the person who's claiming that this is who they work with. I'm like, but that happens so often. Then you see it in social media too, with people selling social media services or buying followers, which is something I see all over. And I want to jump. I see your eye roll, so I want to jump into this. And we've covered this a couple times. In fact, Facebook flagged us, so Facebook, don't flag us because this is BS. We're talking about a good subject. A lot of people, you're seeing it right now, are gaming social media with buying followers, buying verifications. That's as great as it is in our world to be able to offer that service. If you do, it has to be legit, because at the end of the day, you can lose all those followers you coughed that money into. And
it's the quickest. It's the quickest way to destroy your social media account. I'll give you a quick story. So I've been doing influencer marketing now for 4 years. I've created a really great network of some big accounts in the entrepreneurial space on Instagram specifically. That's where my largest audience is, Instagram. We're just shy of 160,000 followers, and we've been cranking at it for like I said, 4 or 5 years now. So there was this thing going on, giveaways. So they would find this big influencer, maybe it's a celebrity or something like that, and they would have this little strategy where you would have to like these 4 people, and then you get qualified to win an iPhone or something like that, right? And so there's so many flaws to this, because one, is that your target audience? 2, what is the motivation behind them following you? Just to get an iPhone, or for them to actually like your content, right? And so what happened was, I didn't know any better. They were like, "Oh, it's US, and you'll get a handful of this, but most of them are going to be that," and it was such a lie. So I get like 15,000 followers by doing this, and they were all like 13-year-old girls from Mexico. And I just lost my effing mind. I go, this is unbelievable. And I spent like a few grand, like almost close to $5,000 for this. And it completely destroyed my account. It took months to get rid of those. I literally manually went in there and got rid of as much as I could on my downtime. Like, that's something somebody should be doing that owns a business. No. And so I preach this from the mountaintops. You really have to, if you want to, influencer marketing is great. It's so the way this should work for those folks that don't know what influencer marketing is you find an account that's in your niche that they have followers that you would probably have as customers. You reach out to them and you say, hey, listen, I have some content that I would love to put on your account. And then we create a little caption underneath the picture or whatever that says, hey, go follow this person because they may have solutions for you. And you pay a nominal price for that, $100, $150. Some of the bigger brands are $300 a pop. And what happens is they'll post your content on their page and they'll give you a big shout out, and you'll get an influx of new audience. So when you do it right, it works out great because you're gaining exposure, you're leveraging their audience, and things are great. But what's happening is Instagram is really cracking down on influencer marketing. So they're looking at these big accounts and seeing what they're doing, and they're killing their engagement. They're killing their reach, and that sucks. So what the game around that, or how do you work around that? Well, I still encourage to do influencer marketing because it is a great way and it's still underpriced in my opinion. But what I started to do on top of that is I started to run Instagram ads as well.
Oh, I love that.
You just you pay to play. It's sort of like your gateway. Like walking into a restaurant that's packed and you duke the guy and you duke the maitre d' $50 and all of a sudden there's a table available for you. It's the same thing online. So I just I duke Instagram $50 a week or whatever it is, and I get some followers from those. Don't get me wrong. But the majority of my audience is coming from those paid shout outs. But I vet those people now since I got burnt much more closely. And here's how you do it. So you go to their account. And if they have a large following, here's a couple things that I look at. I look at their engagement and their comments. If they have 1 million followers, but posts are only getting like 14 comments, that's a red flag for me. That's telling me Instagram is hindering their reach and they're not getting the engagement that they should, especially with an account that large. So those are some things you could look out for. So you're working with the right people and spending your money wisely.
I agree with you on that because I've seen that with Instagram with, how many followers you get per, you kind of watch the likes. And then those big accounts that have hundreds of thousands of followers, and then you're like, you haven't posted a picture? You don't even post a picture every day, but yet you have, or they don't follow a lot of people back, which is another red line that's like, you're only following 100 people, and you don't post every day, which is like, everybody talks about. I'm like, I look at people with millions of followers that are legit, and they're like every day. Like, even The Rock, like, that dude posts every day.
Every day.
Russell Brunson, every day. Like, Grant Cardone, the dude is like a machine. So I'm like going, wait a minute. This young buck over here with, 200,000 followers but hasn't done a thing. Yeah, I'm like, something smells fishy. And then you go look at followers and you're like, I see. You quickly pick those apart. So it's just funny to see that for social. I don't want to linger on this all day, but it is one of the biggest things that we get questioned about on the show when we have folks on. Is like, well, I want to grow. I want to get verified. I want to be legit. And it's like you have to slowly grow your account to get where you're at. I mean,
do the work. Do the work.
Hard.
Do good work. They'll verify you in a second. Your customers will verify you.
Yeah.
I
agree with you because here's my thing. And I always tell, they're like, Eric, your personal brand has 43,000 or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I built that from scratch. They're like, but your media company, you only have like 700 followers on Insta. I'm like, yeah, but we have like 26,000 on Facebook because that's where we focused a lot of our energy. And now we're kind of moving it over because when I started this business, I started doing one platform at a time and totally understand that way it worked and then go to the next. And now we're growing our Insta, but it's slow because I'm not gaming it. It's like, I know the right way to do this and it'll hit its traction when it needs to. But not many people give two craps about a media agency. Just to be brutally honest, nobody's going to be like, great, they're sharing quotes, a Twitter comment, and a few other things. But hey, we get engagement, so that's all I really care about because that's what I look at. Because here's one of my final things for you while we're talking. Interesting debate came up a few weeks ago because The Rock just took over Caitlyn Jenner for the highest paid influencer on Instagram. He's paid $1.5 million a post. That The Rock does. Good money, right? I wish I made that in a day. Off of an Instagram post that takes like 5 minutes a day. No effort at all. And somebody said he got this because he has following. And I argued the point. I said, no, it's because he actually engages as The Rock. He goes on there, and you've seen him on social. I mean, number one, he's the most entertaining guy, him and Kevin Hart. But he actually responds to people, kind of like Lewis Howes does. Even Grant, like all the big names. The reason why they're popular isn't because they have lots of followers. It's because you tell Lewis Howes, you respond to Lewis Howes is going to write back to you.
He does. Yeah, so, I've had conversations with Lewis.
Yep.
It's him because when the account is being serviced by a third party.
Yeah.
You just could tell the way they interact and the way they respond to you, right? It's very It's very cookie cutter. It's very, you could tell, right? But Lewis has always written back in a fair, may not be immediately, but he's always, and that goes a long way. When you watch Rock on a live stream and he's shouting people out, right? Another person who did this really well was LL Cool J.
Yep.
When COVID first hit, he was out there. He was bringing people on, Instagram live stream, and people were like, "Holy!" And that's the beauty of that. Like that's the blessing of COVID, right? Everyone is like, right. I always look at the glass half full, right? You would have never been able to get on with LL Cool J if COVID was not here, right? So I just look at those things, right? And that's what you guys should be doing. I mean, your social media platform should be a show, especially if you're using it for business, should be a showcase of your work, your expertise, authority, and credibility. So like I said, right out of the gate, if you can answer objections and answer questions and really show and prove what the hell you're talking about, social media will be a very solid tool for you.
Absolutely. So it is funny. I will say this to kind of piggyback on your point about COVID being amazing. During, still going on, the NBA bubble, right? When they started the season, there was one of our athletes. He chose not to kneel. He stood because his brother serves in the Marine Corps. Great athlete. Do you know more people messaged me and they were like, dude, he actually responded to private messages for thanking him for doing what he did. And I'm like, why are you guys shocked? Because I know kids, even my own kid, playing Call of Duty Warzone when it came out, 65 million downloads right when COVID started. He's talking to NBA basketball players on the regular because they're playing video games with him, right? They're on Twitch and they're having fun. These guys, everybody became more accessible, and you see their social, and you're allowed to kind of see behind the curtain where you didn't see that before. I mean, you see it with like Braun and Dwayne Wade and like the good guys, the big guys, and even Dame Lillard, who mad love to Dame. But like now you see all these guys. You see like they're showing off their hotel room in the bubble. Like here's LeBron James' suite, and I'm a rookie on the team. Here's my suite. And you're just like, I love it. Here's a guy who makes a lot of money, but there's still a pecking order even in the NBA. It's like, bro, you're not on the top floor. It's funny because you see like Dame Lillard, the star of the mighty Portland Trailblazers. He's got this great pimped out room. And like kind of, the other guys on the, of course, Melo deserves a good room. You got to love Melo. Who doesn't love Melo? But like then you see some of the rookies and they're the same thing. They got these little like junior suites.
Listen, you got to earn your stripes. Bottom line.
And they all use social well, though. I think that's a key thing to all of these athletes. And I know you work with athletes as well as, celebs. And I think they're really good at engaging, which is amazing because we talk about Lewis, we talk about Gary, we talk about Grant. They all will engage with you. And I think that's how a lot of people should be. And I always use it as an example when somebody goes, well, how do I start on social? I'm like, make a post, ask a question, and respond. Even if that just means like and put the little fired up hands or drop fire. It's just, I always say treat your Insta like you treat your LinkedIn. To grow your LinkedIn, it's the same thing. You have to comment. Thank people. It's really simple. It's like, thanks for your comment, man. I appreciate you. People will engage with you if they know you're going to say something because there's nobody, except for like my Aunt Karen, who will be like everything suddenly on one day. I think that's the difference between a lot of people. And that's why I wanted you on today is like, engagement is key. Like you've got to do both. It's not just a post.
Here's how I humanize this whole conversation and this whole point, this whole topic. You're walking down the street or you're sitting at a coffee shop. Somebody walks by, comments on your shoes or comments on your outfit or comments on your hair and compliments you or just walks by and says, hey, good morning. How's your day? Yeah. And you don't respond. Or you do that to somebody and somebody doesn't respond and they look at you kind of funny. How do you feel?
Like crap.
It's the same thing on social, man. It's the same thing. Don't get it twisted. There's a human being behind that comment or that like. Treat people like human beings. because people buy from people. Then they buy your product or service. So it's so important to just like make that real for a second, because it's like you're ignoring somebody who's really that's stopping by and like giving you daps and giving you props. And it's like you kind of poo-pooing them in the face by not responding or looking at them like, who are you? You wouldn't want that done to you, so don't do it to them. So that's why The Rock, he gets that.
Yep.
And that's why he gets paid $1.5 million a post. So, obviously along with a bunch of other things, but like that's why accounts grow faster than others. The person that's operating that account knows how to engage back and knows how to humanize the brand, and you'll see. Just give it a shot, and you'll see a huge difference.
I want to tell you something real fast before we wrap this. So I was laughing because I saw this post, and I use it as an example to somebody of what not to do. And I love doing this because sometimes you have to do it. And I said, you look at guys who make a lot of money, and you see their posts. And then you see somebody who just is thirsty for attention. And it was this gentleman who posted a picture on his Instagram and said, I really don't, it was a picture of Lamborghini. And he's like, oh, my Porsche is better than this. I went and test drove this, but this car's not good. And I was reading the comments, and people were destroying him. And I said, this is why you don't boast that you have a ton of money by saying, oh, I could get this Lamborghini, but my Porsche is better. You just come across exactly like it sounds. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, listen, look at all the really successful people out there, in my opinion. They're not posting pictures of their bank account statements. They're not posting pictures of their cars. You'll never see the kind of car that I drive, right? You'll never see that the full shot of my home, because I know nobody cares, number one. But if somebody's going to hire me because of the car that I drive or the house that I live in, there's probably a problem there. Yeah. And it's probably not going to be the right client for me anyway. So why don't you hire me because of the quality of work that I do and the trust that you have in me to get your job done the right way, and then we can talk. So I bought into that, Eric. I'm not gonna lie, because you'll go back 3 years and you'll see me doing that kind of crap, and you'll be like, oh, you're a hypocrite. That did not get me anywhere. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, maybe I should be putting out more social proof and credibility, but I was attracting the wrong client. I was attracting the wannabes. And then when I stopped doing that, I started getting some really quality clients, because quality clients look at me and say, oh, he's matured. So before we wrap up, let me give your audience this. This is what completely changed my business and has been changing the business for my clients for years. Awesome. I tell them all the time, the quality of your brand will determine the quality of your clients, and the quality of your clients will determine the quality of your life, period.
I like that. That's solid. Mic drop. Mic drop, walk off stage. That's what my man just did right there. Now, I want to thank you, Henry, for joining us today. It's been a great conversation. I like having these conversations nobody will really talk about, right? Deep diving into how the nitty-gritty of social media, what really engagement means. So many people go, well, what does that even mean? Like, some people think engagement is putting a post up, right? I mean, you could throw content up, and I always love, and I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, so you'll hear me always mention his name. But when you talk about it, like, putting out content, you have to make it engaging so people want to look at your content. You can't just throw up some post and kind of just go. You have to engage off of it. And there's a lot of them out there, and I always give credit to one brand particularly that I think does a great job, especially on Twitter, is 137. I love check them out. Their Twitter feed they know their audience, and they play with it well. And they get engagement, and I'm envious of it, because I'm like literally like, I tell my team every day, I'm like, I want our Twitter to look like theirs. Like go back and steal their content from like 2 years ago and put it in ours, and I don't care. Nobody will know. It's that good.
I love it. What did they say? Steal like an artist?
Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
It's not stealing if it's flattery. I mean, isn't it? I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, so when we took Johnny Damon, I didn't feel bad from the Red Sox. I mean, I just thought that was fair. I mean, when we took Clemens, I felt the same way. I never have shame in my game. Take whoever you need, as long as you're winning. If anybody asks, I mean, hey, we freely admit if somebody asks, where did you get that idea? I point to 137 all the time. I think they're amazing.
Right.
And it gets engagement because we've tested some of their content, and it's old. Like, we won't take current content because I just think that's super shady. It's like justification if it's like a year old. So I'm with you there. But I do want to comment on one thing you said. You were talking about go back on your Instagram and seeing, like, I call it douchebaggery behavior. We've all done it. Like, the moment you kind of hit success, you're like, and now I kind of chuckle because I'm like, if people judge me because I drive a Tacoma, then they can see that I drive a Toyota Tacoma and I'm just a normal human being. I like nice cars, but, I just think that there's things that you show off and things that you don't. And
Yeah.
I like to be real. So, like, you'll see pictures of my kids on there. You'll see if we're traveling, if we're doing stuff. Because I want people to know who I really am, not just some dude who sits here on here or somebody who's on TV talking about, COVID-19 and how the hell baseball's still going to go on, or college football. I think people need to see what we look like behind the scenes, and I think a lot of people don't look at that in our lives. Like,
Yeah. I did work for a Green Bay Packer, helping him with his brand. And I asked him once we were done with the project, I said, bro, why did you hire me? Like, I'm just curious, because there's a lot of people that do what I do. And he looked me dead in the eye on Zoom, and he goes, bruh, real is rare.
True.
So people just want the real you. And I've been very good at helping clients really represent the true value that their product and service and business delivers and customizing it to them. This is no cookie cutter approach. This is highly customized. The framework, you build houses the same way. You need a foundation, you need framing. But how you decorate that house, how you decorate that brand is custom to the owner. And that is something that I have been mastering and continue to master in my career. And I don't see me stopping anytime soon. We're 14 years deep, and I feel like I'm just getting started. I'm so excited, to help people now at a higher level, to really help them design a life and design a business that they're really proud of.
I love that you are ending on that note, because that's so true. Like, you got to love what you do. You got to wake up and not look at it as work. And I tell people that every day. Somebody's like, how do you know that this is what you want to do? I said, because I wake up and love it, and I don't judge it as work. Like, I'll work on the weekend by working standards, meaning I'll sit there at my desk. But I look at it as, like, more geeking out on it. Like, I'm reviewing video the team's edited and cut and sent to me. But I don't look at it as work, because I'm like, oh, I like that, or I'm laughing at it. And I'm like, somebody's like, you're working. I'm like, not really. I don't think it is work. I'm like, no, it's not work. So you're right on that. So I want to thank you, Henry, for joining us today. Before you go, tell everybody how, obviously everybody knows the rules here. They know they scroll down on C-Suite or on YouTube, and your links are here. And on Facebook, if you're watching us live when we're on, you just scroll into the comments. But tell everybody so they can hear. Maybe they're typing away while they're listening. What's the best way to reach you and your brands on the socials?
People can find me on Instagram at TheBrandDR. I do have a podcast that's getting over 81,000 downloads a month called the Brand Doctor Podcast. So if you're interested in personal brand, trying to grow an online business or build your brand online, go check out that. I have some really great guests and some really great value there. And you can just check my website, Unique Designs with a Z at the end, not an S, .net. You'll get access to all my videos, blogs, podcasts, all types of great value.
Thank you so much for joining us. Everybody else, stay tuned. We got more after the break coming right back at you. Thank you for watching today's show. As always, if you'd like to be a guest or you know somebody that we should have on our show as a guest, feel free to email us at hello@tothepointtv.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And you can also email us if you have a complaint, want to give us kudos, high fives, or if you have an additional question for a guest. Feel free to email us again at hello@tothepointtv.com. Our Twitter is up and running, and it's for social good, not yelling and screaming political or anything else crazy on our Twitter. So follow us on Twitter at ToThePointTV, and we'll tweet back at you. And as always, we want you to check out our IG. We love Instagram. Our Instagram stories are up, they're buzzing, and they're meant for you. We love our fans and followers, and we want you to know who our guests are coming on, and we want you to engage with us, and we want to engage with you. So make sure you're following us at Instagram at ToThePointTV. Now, we love you on Facebook, and we want to make sure, because you're probably watching this on Facebook, you're like, why would I? You already follow us. But tell a friend that they can come follow our show and never miss a live episode. As you know, here on Facebook, make sure you head, if you're not on Facebook watching this, then it's different, but our Facebook is To The Point with Eric Mitchell. So make sure you follow us there so you always get notified when our show goes live at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Now, for the folks over on YouTube. Now, YouTube, we love our YouTube, and our channel is growing, and we love you there. Now, if you missed the live show at 12 p.m. Eastern, you can catch the premiere, which is re-recorded. The premiere on YouTube goes down every day at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and simply just go do that. So remember, with YouTube, what we want you to do is smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and flick that bell. That's right, hit the bell. Give that bell some bell love. And that way you know when we're on air and you can catch our latest episode. Check out our playlist. All of them broken down by the day and guest and show, so you can always stay up to date. Once again, on behalf of the entire team here at To The Point, we want to thank you for, again, tuning in and watching our show. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on To The Point. As always, I am your host, Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point. Sit and enjoy. This is Eric Mitchell. He the host of the show. Get to the point. He is the voice. We needed this, something more. This is a daily show that's known for politics and the sports. Ain't no limit to whoever you may see at this point. To celebrities, Eric he's beast in the joint. As a veteran, put him at ease, then annoy. Every conversation can never be disappointed. Whether tragic or it's happy, Eric will cover whatever's happening. Whether it be your gymnast, toe tapping, talking about nearly any athlete, not taking a back seat. You're never gonna get it past T. Everybody running from it, it's a stampede. But he's on it like this man who took that knee. Mr. Mitchell's way too crazy.